Now let's talk about the different types of research. When we say conduct research, we're actually referring to a large number of tools and approaches. Some of these you only have to do once. Some of these, though, you're going to have to do probably every 3 to 6 months if you want to stay on top of market trends and understanding your prospects and customers and how they evolve over time. So there are lots of different types of research. There's analytics, becoming the customer, journey mapping, social proof, email surveys, website polls, heat, click, and scroll maps, user tests, competitor analysis, and a website audit. Let's quickly talk about each of those. Analytics is the first one that you should do. This is where you go into your analytics platform, which could be Google Analytics or some other tool like Adobe perhaps. And this will help you answer some fundamental questions. You'll understand where people are coming from, where they're landing on your site, how they're progressing through your site's funnel, what pages are driving the most conversions, how people convert by country or device type, and a whole lot more. Most importantly, it's going to help you map out your funnel so you can identify the 3, 4, 5 key pages or types of pages in your funnel that you want to be working on and constantly improving. And analytics helps you visualize that before you start diving in with all the other research tools. That's why we recommend doing this one first. Once you've done your analytics, you've mapped out the funnel, you want to also become the customer. Now, this is an underrated tactic that most people don't do. And I'm willing to bet if you're a business owner or if you work for a company in the marketing department, chances are you have probably never gone through your entire funnel and purchased the product or the service yourself. In fact, there's so many times I would work with clients and I would say, what does your thank you page look like? And nobody knows. It's because no one's becoming the customer. And in order to truly understand your market, you have to walk in their shoes. So here's how you do it. You want to go through the entire funnel. So if you start with an ad, you want to go look at the ad, click to that, go to the landing page. If the landing page is offering free information in exchange for an email address, provide your email address. Then go to your inbox, read the first emails that are coming in, click on the relevant links or anything that seems interesting. Then when you've done that, go to the website and pretend that you're going to buy. Actually, don't pretend, go buy. Take out your credit card and start from whatever page you've landed on, work your way through the funnel, and pretend that you're a customer, like you really wanted to buy this. If you are working with REI, for example, and you want to buy hiking shoes, then go through the funnel and actually buy hiking shoes. And you'll understand those subtle pain points that are not going to come up in perhaps a survey. You're going to understand all of those subtleties as you go through the funnel. And that's incredibly important. You want to actually use your credit card, understand how the checkout process works. And you'll notice little things like, one field, it screwed me up, or this other field just doesn't work. All of these are things that you can immediately fix and are going to increase your sales. Once you become the customer, your next step is to do what's called journey mapping. And this is where you talk to everyone else on your team. Now, this also works if you're a solopreneur, because anybody who's ever been a solo understands that we wear lots of different hats, right? So you just need to switch hats when you're thinking about this. With journey mapping, you want to talk to everybody who encounters your prospects and your customers throughout the entire funnel. So for example, if you're running paid ads, you want to get on a phone or in person and talk to the people who run the ads. Ask them, what are the ads that perform the best? What ads have you tried in the past that bombed? The ones that really didn't perform well at all. And what other insights do you have? Once you've looked at the ads, you can do the same thing on social media, asking the same questions. What type of content do people respond to the most? What's driving us buyers? What's getting the most attention on social media? You can also talk to your email marketing team, your copywriters, your design team. You can talk to your customer support team. You can talk about customer service. All of these people, you can talk to your salespeople. And you want to understand the entire approach, the entire process that your prospects have when they go from prospect to customer. And when you do that, it's amazing the insights will come up. You'll start to realize that there's dead space in the funnel. And since you've already become the customer, you've walked a mile in their shoes, now that you're doing journey mapping and speaking with the rest of your team, you have a much clearer idea of how all these touch points connect. One quick tip, when you're doing the journey mapping, if you talk to salespeople, if you have salespeople on your team, ask them word for word, what is the biggest objection that you get and how do you overcome it? And then write down what they say, and that could be your copy. It's a great way to write high converting copy, is to talk to the people who actually speak to your prospects Understand what they're saying and use that in your copywriting. Once you're done with journey mapping, the next step is social proof. Social proof is something that you can't overdo. So you want to spend a lot of time on this. There are lots of ways to go about social proof, and I'll cover that later in this course. But for now, you want to start thinking about where people are reviewing your product or your service and start gathering all of that feedback. You can put it into a Google Doc, Notion, or wherever else you feel comfortable. But you want it to be somewhere that's accessible, that a lot of people can come across and add the content to. So whether you come across it or somebody on your team gets a really nice review, they can go ahead and add that to your social proof document. This is incredibly important, particularly when you start designing pages going forward. You want to just have this giant list of great things that people have said about you. You want to have a list of places that your content has appeared. You want to have a great list of famous customers that other people will respond to. And all of these will help you increase your sales or increase your leads and ultimately grow your business. You also want to conduct email surveys. This is something where you can send out to 3 different groups or cohorts. So the first group are your prospects. These are people that are signed up for your newsletter, or maybe they signed up for a coupon code, but they ultimately haven't bought yet. Next up are email surveys. Now, email surveys are incredibly important, and you can break them into 3 groups or cohorts. The first group are your prospects. So these are people that have never bought from you. They could be people that are on your newsletter list, or perhaps they signed up for a discount code. Basically, anybody on your list that hasn't purchased is considered a prospect. So you want to create a survey specifically for them and understand why they didn't buy, what their main questions and concerns were. This will help you address those and convert more prospects into customers. The second cohort, or the second group of people, are your customers. These are people that have gone through and they have purchased. You can go ahead and ask them what it was that convinced them to ultimately buy. You can also ask them, hey, what almost stopped you from buying? And this gives you a clear idea of what those objections are. Here's a pro tip. You can cross-reference what you learn from asking your customers and your prospects. So if you ask your prospects, why didn't you buy? And they all say price. But if you talk to your customers and you say what almost stopped you from buying, and they mention some very specific feature that was missing, then you know if you want to target customers going forward, people who are really your target market, you need to address that issue much more so than price. The third group or cohort are people that have churned. So these are people that perhaps were your customers and ultimately they decided to cancel. This is especially important if you run a subscription business or a SaaS model, something along those lines. You want to understand why people stop paying you. And this is a group that often gets overlooked. There are a lot of companies out there that obsess over acquiring new customers, but they don't really focus on keeping their existing ones. And keeping an existing customer is often a lot easier and more profitable than finding a new customer. So really take some time and understand. When you're talking to this group, ask them questions about why they decided to cancel. Is there anything else that you could have done that would have convinced them to stick around? These are all really vital questions. We'll talk more about email surveys later in this course. Next up are website polls. This, as you can see here, is a screenshot of a poll that's on the Colgate website. And you'll notice here that they have a question that says, if you did not make a purchase today, can you tell us what stopped you? And this fires on exit. So somebody's going through the Colgate website and they're about to leave, this poll pops up. This is a great thing to ask because it's in that moment of truth that you can understand why people decided not to buy. And you'll notice they've got a few different options to choose from here. You can also ask open-ended questions so you really get a sense of what your prospects are thinking. Website polls are dynamite, and you can run them on all the key pages that you've identified when you're looking through your analytics, as well as when you were becoming the customer. In addition, you also want to add heat, click, and scroll maps. Heat maps basically show you how people are interacting with a page. So in this example, it's showing what elements people are clicking on. And you can see, oh, people are clicking on the video, for example, but they're not really clicking on the sign up button. That could be a problem. A lot of people are clicking a few links in the nav bar. Those are really important elements that we should consider either playing up if that leads to a conversion or removing if we know that that's just distracting people. So there's a lot that you can learn from click maps. In addition, you also have scroll maps. Now, scroll maps show how far down a page users will scroll. And this is incredibly important for, let's say, long-form sales pages. If you realize that 90% of people aren't even scrolling down the page, don't waste your time rewriting copy or changing the design for elements that are below the fold. If they're below the fold and people don't see them, it might as well not exist. So don't worry about trying to fix those things. You'll also want to conduct user tests. Now, how do user tests work is you find 5 people. You don't have to worry about doing more than that. Just choose 5 people that are in your market and ask them to go through your website and speak their thoughts out loud. Studies have shown if you run 5 user tests, you're going to uncover 85% of usability issues. So pick 5, run them through desktop or mobile, whatever most of your audience uses, and understand what it is that they think as they're going through the website. A couple quick pro tips about running user tests. The first thing you want to do is give them a task. Say, you're in this market and you're interested in buying, go through the process as you normally would and speak your thoughts out loud. So that's pro tip 1. Tell them what to do. Pro tip 2 is the hard part. Shut up. Seriously, don't say a word. You want people to figure things out on their own. You don't want to try and jump in and solve their problem. You don't want to try to explain something if they have a question. You need to watch the user use the site in the exact same way that your audience is. You can't be there for every single visitor explaining this and that. So you have to shut up and you have to listen to what they're saying. Remember, this is a key point. When you're conducting user tests, the more you talk, the less you learn. That's not just user tests, it's often in life. You'll also want to do a competitor analysis. Now, if you've done user tests, here's another trick. You can ask users to go through your competitor's site as well and ask them, hey, what elements do you like better on this site? What elements do you like worst? And this will help you get a clear sense of how you stack up against the competition. It's not just user tests, though. You should go through your competitors' funnels, even become their customers, understand what the entire funnel looks like, from their ads, their social media, to their landing pages, through the entire website, the checkout process, post-checkout process. What does their support look like? You need to understand all of these points and then cross-reference that with what you've learned from your website polls, your email surveys, and your user tests. If a lot of people in your email surveys are saying how much they love your customer support, and you go through in a competitor analysis and you realize that your competitor's support sucks, you need to play that up more. Because if people are talking about this, you might as well talk about it too. You might as well highlight this as a key value that you're bringing that your competitors aren't. So where do you do this competitor analysis? Well, I've already mentioned user tests as one option. You go through the funnel yourself. You can also look at review sites, or Reddit is another great example. If you go to a subreddit where somebody says, hey, I'm looking for this solution, look at the ones that people mention and look at the really brutal, honest truth that they're sharing, because Reddit is pretty anonymous. And so you get the brutal truth. Nobody's trying to be nice or score brownie points on Reddit. They just get to the point. So that's a really great place for you to do your competitor analysis as well. You'll also want to do a website audit. Now, this is similar to becoming a customer in that you're going through the funnel, but it's much more technical. This is where you want to start looking at how your site is loading. Does every page load appropriately? Are there any technical errors that could be fixed? How does your website work for the search engines? Is there an easy low-hanging fruit there? And as you're going through your website audit, you may start to notice some nice opportunities there. Another quick example, if you're going through the audit and let's say you're looking at the conversion type by browser, and you can tell that, hey, it works really well on Chrome, but Firefox converts horribly. Like, what's going on there? There might be an issue that appears for users on a Firefox browser. So you can start to figure out exactly what that issue is and fix it. This is low-hanging fruit, particularly if you're technical or if you know anybody who is technical on your team. You can say, hey, look, I've identified this problem. We need to fix it. It's low-hanging fruit. All right, so that was a high-level overview of all of the types of research that you can conduct. We're going to cover each of these in great detail going forward. So be sure to stick around. You're going to learn a hell of a lot.